Why does God ask for 10%? The truth about tithing. Imagine earning your first paycheck. You work hard for every dollar, then someone tells you, 10% of that belongs to God. But why? Does an all-powerful God really need money? If God created the universe, why would He ask human beings to give Him 10% of their income? Where did the idea of tithing even come from? Was it God's command for everyone, or was it something different? Today, we're exploring one of the most debated topics in the Bible. Not to tell you what to believe, but to examine what the biblical texts actually say, and why this subject continues to spark discussion around the world. Where did the idea of 10% come from? Many people believe tithing began with Moses, but according to the Bible, the first mention comes much earlier. In Genesis 14, Abraham returned from a military victory and met a mysterious priest king named Melchizedek. The Bible says Abraham gave him a tenth of the spoils he had won. This immediately raises an important question. If Abraham gave a tenth, was God commanding everyone to do the same? Or was this a voluntary act on a unique occasion? The text doesn't clearly say that Abraham was establishing a rule for all future generations. Here comes Jacob's promise. Years later, Abraham's grandson Jacob made another interesting promise. After a dream about a ladder reaching heaven, Jacob said that if God protected and blessed him, he would give God a tenth of everything he received. Notice something. Jacob wasn't responding to a written law, he made a personal vow. So another question appears. If tithing existed before the law of Moses, why wasn't everyone commanded to practice it in exactly the same way? The law of Moses. Centuries later, the practice became part of Israel's law. The Israelites were instructed to give a tenth of certain agricultural produce and livestock. These offerings helped support the Levites, the tribe responsible for religious service, because they did not receive the same land inheritance as the other tribes. Some tithes were also connected with festivals and assistance for people in need, including widows, orphans, and foreigners. This leads to another question. Was the biblical tithe primarily money? Or was it largely based on crops, animals, and the produce of the land in the agricultural society of ancient Israel? Many readers notice that the biblical descriptions often focus on agricultural produce and livestock. Why did God ask for a tenth? If God owns everything, why ask people to give anything back? Some believers see tithing as a reminder that everything ultimately belongs to God. Others view it as a practical way to support worship, religious workers, and the vulnerable members of society. Still others see it as a lesson in generosity rather than a payment to God. But another difficult question remains. Does an all-powerful creator actually need human money? Or was the instruction meant to shape the hearts and priorities of the people rather than provide something God lacked? What about today? This is where opinions differ. Many churches teach that Christians should continue giving 10% as an act of obedience and gratitude. Others argue that the New Testament places greater emphasis on generous, willing giving rather than a fixed percentage. For example, some point to passages encouraging believers to give freely and cheerfully, according to what they have decided in their hearts. Because of these differences, Christians around the world do not all practice giving in exactly the same way. A bigger question. Perhaps the biggest question isn't whether the number is 10%. Perhaps it's this: what was God trying to teach through giving? Was it about trust, gratitude, supporting a community, helping those in need, or something even deeper? The Bible contains different passages and has been interpreted in different ways across history, which is why this discussion continues today. Conclusion: the question isn't simply, does God need 10% of our income? After all, if God is the creator of everything, could human wealth add anything to him? Perhaps the more important question is, what does our willingness or unwillingness to give reveal about us? Whether you believe tithing is a timeless command, an instruction specific to ancient Israel, or a practice that has changed under the New Testament, one thing is certain: the conversation is far from over. So, what do you think? Does God ask for 10% because he needs it? Because people need the discipline of generosity? Or for another reason entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the discussion respectful.